Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled between lush green forests and rolling hills, there lived a sweet little girl known as Little Red Riding Hood. She earned this name because of the vibrant red cloak her grandmother had sewn for her, which she wore everywhere she went. The cloak was as bright as a ruby and had a hood that framed her cherubic face, making her look even more endearing. One sunny morning, Little Red Riding Hood's mother called her into the kitchen.
Dear, your grandmother has been feeling unwell.
Stirring a pot of soup.
I'd like you to take her this basket of goodies to cheer her up. Remember, stay on the path and don't talk to strangers.
Little Red Riding Hood nodded eagerly, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She packed the basket with fresh bread, sweet butter, and a jar of honey, and set off toward her grandmother's cottage, which lay on the other side of the woods. As she walked through the forest, the sun filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the ground. Birds chirped merrily, and the scent of wildflowers filled the air. Lost in her thoughts, Little Red Riding Hood didn't notice the shadow that lurked behind the trees. Suddenly, a Slyvolf appeared on the path. He was large and menacing, with sharp teeth and a cunning glint in his eyes.
Well, what do we have here?
His voice smooth like honey.
A lovely little girl wandering alone in the woods. Where are you headed, my dear?
Little Red Riding Hood, remembering her mother's warning, hesitated but decided to be polite.
I'm on my way to visit my grandmother. She lives in a cottage at the end of this path.
The Volf's eyes gleamed with mischief.
A lovely idea, but why take the long route? There are beautiful flowers just a little off the path. Why not pick some for your grandmother?
Little Red Riding Hood, enchanted by the Volf's suggestion, thought it would be a delightful surprise.
Thank you for the idea.
Stepping off the path to gather some flowers. While she was busy picking the most vibrant blossoms, the Volf dashed ahead to the grandmother's house. Arriving at the cottage, the Volf knocked on the door.
Who is it?
Called the grandmother, her voice weak and shaky.
It's me, Little Red Riding Hood.
The Volf replied, mimicking the girl's voice.
I've brought you some goodies.
Come in, dear.
The grandmother said, her voice barely above a whisper. The Volf entered the cottage, and in an instant, he pounced on the unsuspecting grandmother. He quickly locked her in a closet, donned her nightgown and cap, and jumped into her bed, pulling the covers up to his chin. When Little Red Riding Hood finally finished gathering flowers, she skipped down the path, her basket swinging by her side. She arrived at her grandmother's house and knocked on the door.
It's me, Little Red Riding Hood.
Come in, dear.
The Volf croaked, trying to imitate the grandmother's voice. Little Red Riding Hood stepped inside, her heart fluttering with excitement. But as she approached the bed, she noticed something strange.
Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have.
All the better to see you with, my dear.
The Volf replied, grinning wickedly.
And what big ears you have.
She continued, feeling a chill run down her spine.
All the better to hear you with, my dear.
The Volf said, his eyes narrowing.
But grandmother, what big teeth you have.
Little Red Riding Hood said, taking a step back.
All the better to eat you with.
Roared the Volf, leaping out of bed. Just as the Volf lunged toward her, the door burst open, and a brave woodcutter, who had been passing by, rushed in. Hearing the commotion, he had come to investigate. With a swift swing of his axe, he scared the Volf away, who fled into the depths of the forest, never to be seen again. Little Red Riding Hood rushed to her grandmother and freed her from the closet. They embraced, both shaken but relieved. The woodcutter smiled at them, glad to have saved the day.
Thank you, kind woodcutter.
Little Red Riding Hood said, her voice filled with gratitude.
I will always remember to stay on the path and heed my mother's advice.
From that day forward, Little Red Riding Hood learned to be cautious and brave. She and her grandmother enjoyed many more visits, sharing stories and laughter, while the woods remained a little less frightening, knowing that a courageous woodcutter was always nearby. And so, they all lived happily ever after.